The former advisor to President Trump was charged with contempt of Congress after refusing to comply with subpoenas from the January 6th committee.
The House committee investigating January 6th is zeroing in on an alleged conversation between Bannon and the former president on December 30th, 2020, in which they say Bannon urged Mr. Trump to plan for and focus his efforts on January 6th, along with comments Bannon made on his radio show the day before rioters descended on the Capitol.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
2 charges from the Department of Justice, one for failing to appear for a deposition, another for refusing to hand over documents. The former political advisor to President Trump claimed he was covered by executive privilege, and this indictment is a first in that regard. No one has ever been prosecuted for contempt of Congress after claiming executive privilege.
Mr. Bannon's lawyer received a letter on behalf of former President Trump invoking the privilege, directing him not to appear, directing him not to turn over documents. That's how privilege is invoked. And as a layperson, once privilege is invoked, in my view at least, and based on the advice he got from his lawyer, Mr. Bannon had no choice.
That view from Bannon and his legal team, he had no choice but to comply with Trump's claim of executive privilege. Legal experts say that's a bunch of crap. Hello, everybody. I'm David Shuster, and thanks for joining us. To be clear, the U.S. Supreme Court has recognized a presidential-based privilege to withhold certain information from disclosure to the public or Congress. However, the court has also ruled there are limits and that nobody is obligated to comply with a privilege request, especially when the claim of privilege is absurd. And based on the Supreme Court's own case law and precedent, what Donald Trump and Steve Bannon are claiming here with executive privilege is beyond absurd. Here's why. First, executive privilege only protects deliberations that relate to the president's official duties. The privilege does not protect a president when he's acting in his personal capacity, and personal matters include campaign work. Was January the 6th related to the presidential campaign and election outcome? Of course it was. Secondly, executive privilege does not protect communications related to the current or future commission of a crime. Given the number of crimes and criminal cases related to January the 6th, legal experts say there's no way executive privilege can block documents and testimony about the Trump-Bannon discussions involving January the 6th. Thirdly, the courts have repeatedly ruled that executive privilege does not provide absolute immunity to congressional subpoenas. Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution grants Congress the power of inquiry, and the courts have ruled this process carries with it, quote, the process to enforce it. So the Trump argument that Congress cannot get around executive privilege, well, that argument is nonsense. Finally, Steve Bannon was not an executive branch employee at the time of his January 6 conversations with Donald Trump. However, Bannon's legal team points to an argument made a decade ago by the U.S. Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel.
Whether executive privilege can be invoked with respect to a conversation with a person no longer in the administration. The answer to that, according to the OLC, is absolutely yes, because the president often relies on people who have been in the administration for advice. We want those people to be able to speak freely.
Okay, but again, it doesn't matter whether Bannon was in the executive branch or not at the time of these conversations. Executive privilege does not cover a president acting in his personal capacity. The privilege also doesn't protect conversations related to the commission of a crime. I guarantee you that Steve Bannon is aware of the case law on all of this. So why is he refusing to cooperate with the January 6th investigation? Because Steve Bannon and Donald Trump have something to hide, and they know it.